The more I thought about it, the more I've come to the conclusion that I'm pretty much done with PlayStation outside of, the PlayStation 5 that I have. It doesn't look like I'll be picking up PlayStation VR 2. They priced that way out of reach. They also didn't make it backwards compatible. They priced their games ridiculously high, a trend that everyone's following. They raised the price of their console. They bitched and complained about the actual deal between Microsoft and Activision, and I think that's probably the biggest issue that I have right now is that, as a fan, I just feel like they're not doing what I would prefer them to do, and I get it because, they're trying to hold on to what they got or whatever, but at the same time, I feel like what they're doing is very petty, and not only is it petty, but it's like utterly asinine and ridiculous at the same time. And, for me personally, I just find it to be shameful what they're doing in general. And, I can't be a party of that anymore. It's like I've kind of reached my limit or what have you, unfortunately. And, PS5 is going to be my last PlayStation. If they come out with a Pro or a Slim, I'm not getting it. I'm pretty much fed up with what they're doing. I want to get into this though. What's up, everybody? I'm Crap Gamer. This is Crap Gamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. Please hit that like button. I'm looking for 100 likes on each of the videos that I do. And you know what? Hey, you guys can help me out tremendously. Now, listen, this whole thing with Activision Blizzard, Sony lied repeatedly, which is, completely asinine. Sony continues to kind of go in this smear campaign. Sony goes out and buys studio after studio, exclusive after exclusive, third-party deals. They're doing all this and yet want to cry over the Activision deal, despite the fact that if Sony had the money and means to do it, they would do it. Sony is the market leader calling the shots. Think about that. Imagine the market leader calling the shots on everything, and basically verbatim, it's what the FTC and the CMA are using as a guide to halt this, right? Like Microsoft wants to pay $70 billion to get these franchises. They're going to help gaming in numerous ways. I've mentioned this multiple times. Put Call of Duty back on Nintendo platforms. Put Call of Duty in the cloud. Millions more people are going to be able to access this, right? Put all the games from Activision in Game Pass, right? That's a ton of good stuff. Bringing back old Activision IPs, getting rid of Bobby Kotick, making it a better place to work, a better environment. Obviously, Sony doesn't care about any of that stuff. They only care about, hey, we aren't going to be able to slap Call of Duty on the box. Hey, we aren't going to be able to bundle Call of Duty anymore. Like, how ridiculous is that thought process going forward? Like, I don't understand it. And I don't think I will ever understand it. Jim Ryan is not the guy. I had some respect for Sean Layden and even Jack Tretton. But when it comes to what Jim Ryan is doing, just absolutely cannot believe that the absolute nonsense that Sony gets away with. They literally think that they should be allowed to do whatever they want. And that should be okay, right? Like, that to me is I don't understand it at all. I don't understand it. How can they be, that close-minded? And people celebrate this stuff. So, at the end of the day, I don't understand how that's something that people would celebrate. And I don't understand how, people in general are kind of okay with that. Sony dictating everything. I don't get it. I honestly do not understand it. It is frustrating. And I'm sick of Sony getting their way for everything. Hey, they bought Bungie. Hey, they bought Insomniac. Hey, they bought this, they bought that. Hey, they get exclusive content on Call of Duty and, on Hogwarts, exclusive content there. They're doing all this stuff, right, to counteract gaming and to make PlayStation the more preferred platform as the number one platform holder, and yet they don't want Microsoft to do the same. It is absolutely crazy. I've never seen anything like this before. It's like, do as I say, not as I do. And it's super unfortunate that that's happening. And I do hope that there is some kind of changes there, because, you know, at the end of the day, that there has to be some kind of change there. We can't allow Sony to dictate everything like they're doing right now. Like, how in the world is that okay? Can anybody tell me how that's okay? Like, make it make sense to me. Oh, we can't survive without Call of Duty yet. You know, God of War Ragnarok sells 11 million in, 3 months. You know, they've got like the #1 TV show on right now. Right? Like, Sony's going to survive. Sony and Microsoft has promised Call of Duty on the platform. What else can they do? You know, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't understand what else Microsoft can do to kind of get out there and make it more of an okay situation. But, you know, and they shouldn't really have to, you know, like, at the end of the day, I feel like Sony is taking advantage of the situation, and they're trying to make it seem like they're the victim, although they're squeezing everybody else out by basically, without actually owning Square, making everything Square puts out pretty much exclusive anyway, you know? I will not be purchasing a PlayStation 6. I will not be purchasing a PS5 Pro. You know, I have a PS5. I play it very little. I use it for the big exclusives that interest me. With Sony going more towards games as a service, I have very little interest in that from them. For example, I played my PS5 with Horizon Forbidden West. I thought that game sucked. Turned it off in February of 2022. Didn't boot it back up until November of 2022 with God of War Ragnarok. Beat that. Turned it off. And now it won't turn on again until maybe Spider-Man 2. There's not even a release date or any footage of that. But, yeah, like, completely crazy to think, you know, the way that these things are going. And that, you know, I just feel like Sony gets so many benefits of the doubt. And they get their way time and time again, while Microsoft has to keep scratching and clawing and fighting for everything that they get. And it's just utterly ridiculous to think that. I mean, Microsoft has done so much for the gaming industry, the best deal in gaming, all that stuff, and people literally just kind of brush it off and, you know, pretend like Microsoft is some kind of evil entity or something along those lines, and it's really, really not. I mean, Microsoft is offering the best deals in gaming. You know, they're changing the industry, shaking things up, and I think that's what scares Sony the most. So, you know, it's really unfortunate, but I hope things can change on that front. And, you know, at the end of the day, I think it really kind of comes down to what Microsoft is going to be able to do, and I hope they do it quick, because, you know, they need to strike fast against Sony, and that's the best thing that they can do. I hope that that's what happens. But, you know, again, this is my opinion. Are any of you in the same boat? Like, you just pissed off about the crybaby nonsense that Sony's doing? Let me know. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.